2, 3, funky.
Guys, welcome back to my channel, and I hope you guys are having a good day. In today's video, I'm going to go over Newton's first law, and let's just get started on that. Okay, before we get started, I just want to say that my computer's touch screen, and I would click on it to move to the next slide, and I didn't realize how loud the click was, so I'm sorry. Okay, so basically, before we get into it, we have to go over just some background knowledge and everything before we can actually get into the law, so we know how it works and stuff. So the first one is force, and basically a force is a push or pull. So like pushing a door, pulling a door towards you and all that. It can affect the motion of an object, and it always occurs in pairs. So basically imagine like a tug of war. You need two different sides for that to happen. It can't just be one side of people just pulling on nothing, because that doesn't make any sense. So it always has to happen in pairs. It is considered a vector quantity, if you guys remember what that is from probably like the first unit of physics. So we have scalar, which is just magnitude, and we have vectors, which are magnitudes and direction. So next we are going to talk more on force. So a force can cause objects to speed up, slow down, or change directions as they move. An object will not start moving, it will not stop moving, it will not change speed, and it will not change direction unless a force acts on it. And this is caused by his first law of motion, and we will see why this is the way it is. Okay, so now we're going to talk about mass a little bit, and mass is the amount of matter in an object. So basically my teacher went over how mass is different from weight, because weight is like something to do with gravity and like resistance, all that. But mass is the amount of matter in an object. So basically my mass would be the amount of matter that's in me, if that makes any sense. Yeah, isn't everything? Oh, that's atoms, never mind. Okay, but mass is a scalar quantity because it has only a magnitude, so basically just a number. It doesn't have direction attached to it, so it's just a scalar quantity. Next we have more mass, and basically an object with greater mass would be more difficult to get it to move and to stop, and an object with a smaller mass would be easier to get it to move and for it to slow down. And if you really think about it, it's like if you were trying to, I don't know, push, okay, let's say you're on the football field and you're trying to push a player that is about 250 pounds. Can you imagine how difficult that would be for like a girl who's like, I don't know, 800 pounds and isn't very strong? That would be very difficult for her to do compared to her having to push like, I don't know, a 10-pound book off of a table. You can just like imagine how easy pushing a book would be to pushing a football player would be for her. So if that makes any sense, that's just what that's saying. And it makes sense if you like really think about it. Okay, so friction. Friction is a force that resists motion, and friction usually causes an object to slow down and stop. That was a typo, don't mind me. But yeah, we all know what friction is and how friction works, so next. Okay, now we can get into his first law of motion, and it basically says an object at rest tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion with the same speed in the same direction unless it is acted upon by an unbalanced force. Okay. Talking a little too fast. Okay, but basically balanced and unbalanced forces. So basically over here you see how they are having like a tug of war. You see how like there's three people, let's imagine they'll have the same height, weight, and the same amount of strength in each of them. So basically it's gonna be balanced because there's no more force on one side than the other. So let's say they're pulling with 300 newtons and they're pulling 300 newtons, it will be balanced. But here on a seesaw, we have one person that weighs way more than the other. So therefore there's going to be more mass over here, so it's going to push down this way. And so that means it's going to be unbalanced because it's not equal anymore. So unbalanced means there's more force on one side than there is on the other, and literally just like that. I feel like a lot of physics is just like common sense. You just have to really like think about stuff with physics, and that could be really difficult for some people. Honestly, I don't know. But yeah. Okay, so his first law is known as the law of inertia, and it is the natural tendency of an object to continue doing what it's already doing. So if an object is at rest, it wants to remain at rest. If it's in motion, it wants to continue in motion in a straight line. And I'm pretty sure my teacher said something about also a constant velocity. So it wants to keep going in motion. So like, let's say it's going to a constant velocity of 10 meters per second. So you're going to constantly add 10 meters for every second as it moves on and on in a straight line. Okay, inertia is a property of matter, and this is the resistance to change. So it doesn't want to change from what it's doing. So if it's at rest, it wants to stay at rest, and like what I just said. So the mass of an object is a quantitative measure of inertia. Inertia is not a force, velocity, or acceleration. And the greater the mass of an object, the greater the inertia, and the less the mass of an object, the less inertia. So basically, it has a direct relationship. Inertia and mass has a direct relationship, because the more one is, the more the other. The less one is, the less the other. These are some examples, and you see how, like, let's look at this one over here first. And so you see how the coin is at rest right here, and then you try to move it, and it drops into the water, but it continues to remain at rest, because that's how inertia walk. Oh my god, that's how inertia works. And if it's already at rest, it just wants to stay at rest. So it's just gonna drop into the water and just keep that same motion that it had in the beginning, so at rest. And then here, so basically inertia also means the tendency to preserve its state of motion. That's another way to put it. And so you see how it's rolling down, and then now it's not gonna stop because it was rolling down. So now the inertia is moving downwards, so it's not gonna just stop when it suddenly stops. So basically, if you understand what I'm saying right now, okay, so think about if you're in a car in the back seat and your mom suddenly just hits the brake and the car just suddenly like stops. If you're not wearing your seatbelt, you're literally gonna fly towards the seat in front of you, because your inertia doesn't stop when the car does. It just keeps going. So that's why we wear seatbelts, because the seatbelt helps to hold us back in the car when there's a sudden stop. So if you weren't wearing your seatbelt, you just keep going until you're stopped by a force, which is your seatbelt. But if you're not, then you could fly out the car. You know, like in a car accident. So basically, that's what inertia is, the tendency to preserve its state of motion. Okay, so here are just some more ways to define inertia and all that. So the resistance of an object has to change in state of motion. Tendency of an object to resist changes in its velocity. To resist acceleration, which is only dependent on mass. So yeah, it's dependent on the mass and has a direct relationship with it. And the SI unit of mass and inertia is kilograms, so kg. The first law, so basically what we're considering with the first law is that there is no net forces acting upon the object, and this is also known as, I cannot read that word. But yeah, we're just assuming that the forces are being balanced. Yeah, because there's no net force. Okay, so basically we're gonna repeat the same thing over and over, because that's basically the first law. So forces are balanced, object at rest wants to remain at rest, 0, 0, and objects in motion want to stay in motion in the same speed and the same direction, so a constant velocity, because that is what velocity is. So yeah. Okay, you've come to the end of the video. Thank you for watching to the end, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. And I hope you found this video helpful and you learned something new. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys! I think we're done. That's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.